Hi, welcome back. I'm Brainerror, and today we are playing Tiny Bunny, the prologue. And I did see that there is a full game out now as well, so if you like this prologue, please give me feedback and I will look into playing the whole game. But for now, I want to play this prologue, and I absolutely adore the art style. It's so good. I think the dev team is Russian, and it looks really dark and mysterious, and slightly weird, which I love. It's a point and click, and I'm just going to dive into it because I'm really excited playing this. I think it's fully voice acted as well. Oh, no. The wind clawed at my window all night long. It wandered the fields and howled like a hungry beast. An endless song weaved from all sorts of voices, shrill, gentle, sneery, twined in the air. They were shouting and laughing, and arguing about something. Someone was running through the snow while casting long shadows that would occasionally creep close to my bed. Our house had a mind of its own. The creaky old mind of a building that had seen a lot in its days and was seemingly trying to share its wisdom with the inhabitants. The lonely house faced the forest, and the dark green thicket gazed back with its hollow eyes, rustling, whizzing, swaying back and forth. One could come out and stand at the edge of the forest to reassure themselves. There was nobody behind the crooked trees. Fuzzy silhouettes swaying in the wind couldn't possibly do any harm. It's just play of light and shadow. Just a play. I knew it was just my imagination. I was already 12 after all. Still. Oh, that is clever. I love that. Oh, just look at this style. It's so good. Hey, put away your book. How many times have I told you not to read at the table? It's bad for your health. Look how slouched you are. Why would you complain about that? Oh, you want to hide the book? No. Oh. I didn't protest and put the book about Conan the Barbarian aside. I was stuck on a line I couldn't understand after reading it 3 times anyway. Olia had already finished her breakfast and was munching on some cookies. She was so enthusiastic she almost looked like your typical girl from commercials. You're not going anywhere until you finish all of it. Mom, don't force children to eat. This is how fucking eating disorders are created, you know? I, on the other hand, was still trying to drill a hole in the plate with my eyes, as if it would make the porridge disappear. Ugh. Actually, a correction, I hate oat porridge. I really like rice porridge. So give me Asian porridge anytime, just not Western porridge. Hazy anxiousness welled up inside, all because of the previous sleepless night, the black forest around our house, and the gloomy wind. The longer I waited, the colder the lumpy white substance became. It looked like jellyfish from the Cousteau Odyssey. I love that show. I wonder how horrifying the bottom of the ocean is, or how cold the black forest is at night. The spoon fell out of my hand. Mom showered me with a cold glare from her green eyes. What did I just say? I'll get it! I had 10 seconds to catch my breath before battling the nasty porridge once again. I felt around for the spoon. What is this? Carved on the other side of the table. Karina. Hey, that's my mom's name. I guess she carved it out with something pointy when she was little. She sure was a rascal, damaging the furniture like that. She would scold me for a week if I did something similar, though. Should I remind her about it? No, she's been in a bit of a bad mood lately. I imagined her being my age, sitting under this table. I wonder, was Mom afraid of the dark back then? Or the sounds coming from the attic? Or the thick forest? Aww. I imagined my grandma coming into My little mom's room. My little mom's room. That's so cute. Sitting at the edge of her bed, where Olia sleeps nowadays, and saying this in her soft, smooth voice. Taiga is a special place, little girl. It's watching you closely, sniffing you out, trying to discern what kind of beast you are. If you're a good sort, it won't abandon you in times of trouble. But if you're a bad apple, it'll grab you by the side and drag you under the ground. And that would be it. Grandma was caring. She never fought with anybody, never yelled, never swore. Those were the times without the maddening screams until late at night, without smashed dishes and mutual accusations. Our parents used to love each other back then. I remember listening in one of their conversations by chance. They were talking about Grandma getting prepared for a funeral. She had already bought a casket, and she called it her cute funeral box. It waited for its time in the closet, patiently. It was black, upholstered with meat-colored material on the inside. I saw it when my grandma was getting buried. The house didn't change since the time she was alive. Only all of the photos were gone. Glass-covered pictures with grey faces of my ancestors. They all had a dead but watchful look in their eyes. I crawled out from under the table. Olia was done with her cookies and was looking at my share like a sly woodland critter. I turned my gaze towards the frosted window. There were a lot of dark pines outside, but it didn't grab my attention. The pattern of frost formed a picture on the glass. Yeah, the fox! Olia! Look, it's a fox! Where? It looked almost like those optical illusion thingies they put on the back of student notebooks. A mixture of lines at first glance, but if you blur your vision just a little bit and look at a certain angle. Not outside, on the window! Look, here's the nose, and here's... Hey, eat up! Yes, just a moment. I don't see anything. Hurry up! There's not that much left. Ah! Oh, ah! There it is! But it still doesn't look like one. And I'm telling you it does. Nuh-uh! It does! Stop it! These kids, I swear. Now I couldn't see the fox either. It disappeared. Went away. Only the frosty pattern similar to stretched out nettle leaves kept creeping up the glass. My dad entered the kitchen with long, measured steps. I want to have a beard like his when I grow up. Mom would always ask jokingly, "Come on, shave it off, it stings." This was so long ago. Nowadays, rumbling doors and witty comebacks were an everyday occurrence. Olia always covers her ears whenever she hears something like, "What's the point in all this?" through the wall. "It's all for your sake," Dad would reply, "for the sake of our family." I always caught every sound in fear of hearing the most dreaded, the deadliest word that starts with D. D-I-V-O. I don't even want to finish it. Trust me, when they do, it's better for everyone. It was scary to imagine that me and my little sister could be torn apart and taken into two different families. Why would that happen? Anyway, your fox is nothing. I have an owl on my window. You and your owl talk again. You said you believed me just yesterday. Has anyone seen my car keys? I remember leaving them on the windowsill. Right. Maybe you did, and maybe not. You're a grown man, a father of two, and still... Karina, please stop. Just let me get ready in peace. Your keys are in the basket near the phone. Well, thank you very much. Anton, stop making a martyr of yourself and finish eating already. And the owl. There was no owl. But there was one. It had giant glowing eyes. Olia sprung up from the chair and placed her hands on her little face, imitating a pair of eyes with her fingers, the size of an apple each. Last year you had Bye-Bye in your closet, and now this owl? But I saw it. Olia shifted her gaze back and forth from Dad to Mom to me, but couldn't find any support. Have you thought about befriending it? You know, like feeding it with imaginary mice? Don't bully our girl. She's just afraid to sleep alone because she's little. Olia pouted her lips in rebellion and rushed into the hallway. The staircase that led to the second floor creaked. Mom gave Dad a strict look. Oh, that look in her eyes. It's so uncomfortable to be pinned under it. Dad just snorted in reply and left, ringing with the keys he just found. A minute had passed and the theme song of Little Mermaid echoed through the house. It was stored on an incredibly worn-out cassette tape, which Dad already had to glue together once. It's so easy to fix objects, by gluing them back together, for example. But how do you fix a relationship? Mom moved to the living room and I was left alone, anxiously stealing glances at the window. Quick, throw your porridge in the drains. Olia had trouble sleeping ever since we moved to the house. She would toss and turn or curl up into a ball under her blanket. Sometimes she would jump in the middle of the night and turn on the VCR. Cartoons helped her to take her mind off all the troubles we had with the move and our parents. Oh, well, there's the owl. And then Olia said she saw that giant flying monster outside of her window. Or is it the Mothman? She became obsessed with it. Our parents did everything in their power. They tried every little trick to get rid of those ridiculous fears. They're not really doing a good job. They're just making them worse. Olia refused to sleep alone and didn't believe that the owl was just one of her nightmares. After tonight, I was unsure what to make of my sister's words. What to think of it myself. Can nightmares be infectious? Just last night, I couldn't get a wink of sleep and ended up thinking of what to expect in my new school. There were a couple of days left before the beginning of a new term. My imagination drew long, twisted hallways that led to a classroom full of kids. But all the students behind their desks were simply dark figures, cut out using a template. Circular holes gaped in the middle of their faces, and pairs of eyes blinking inside those holes. It was as if someone completely different creatures were looking at me from behind the flat black silhouettes. Their cruel glares, filled with icy sneers, made me shiver from head to toe. Will I survive here? Won't they gang up on me and beat me down? Stomp on me with their bloodied shoes? The damn school can burn for all I care. I just wished for anything to happen to it. Doesn't really matter what. I didn't want to go there that badly. I didn't want to see people who are just itching to smack me on the head, trip me up. Think of a few offensive names for me, worse than the previous ones. I felt the glasses I wore made me an outsider or some sort of monster. My gaze slid across the drawings hanging on the walls. I couldn't consider myself a great artist, but Olia begged me to hang them. Drawing was the only thing that made me happy as of late. The small circle of friends I had also enjoyed my paintings, and they promised to call me from time to time. Or, Anton is not around. Anton is not around. I imagine my future classmates lying in their beds just like me, listening to the howls of invisible werewolves outside their windows. Maybe my new classmates will like me after all. But who would ever like a boy with thick glasses? I mean, my dad used to wear glasses when he was little, and now he's married to the most beautiful woman on the planet, my mom. The house creaked, pressed by the wind. The condo we used to live in, a 9th-floor concrete building, buzzed with the neighbor's drill, mumbled with a TV set from behind the wall, cried like a baby from the big family next door. Our current house, though I can't really call it new, was completely different. It was silent and easygoing during the day. Its shadows lay dormant in the corners, on the closet cobwebs, and under the stairs. But they all woke up during the night. Something was watching me from every corner, almost as if the old photos of my deceased family, with their ashen eyes, were hanging on the walls in place of my drawings. The floor was squeaking, rusty drains were moaning, the attic was occupied by noisy drafts. One could think the house was performing some sort of demonic melody. And then I realized I was, in fact, hearing music. It was already playing for a good while. Somewhere at the edge of my perception, I could hear a flute. It was mixed in with the sound of the wind, of the creaking old house, and my thoughts too. I stood up and rushed to the window. I wanted to reassure myself that this music was nothing more than a product of my imagination. It's not like someone is playing in there amidst the cold snowy night, right? Ooh, finally some gameplay. Someone was dancing in the field. Black silhouettes I could barely make out, with a dark forest as their backdrop. They jumped around, basked in moonlight, bumped into piles of snow, rolled around and crawled on all fours. Stories about wolves playing under the moon came to mind, but these were clearly not wolves. They stood upright at times, circled around holding hands and whipping up snow, disappearing into the shadows for a brief moment and then coming back. Something bizarre was going on. Shadows dancing in the starless abyss made my imagination go wild, making me anxious at the same time. Suddenly, the music had stopped. The dancing shadows froze in place and, I could swear, pierced me with their eyes. One of the silhouettes immediately parted from the bizarre shadow carnival and sprinted across the field with giant leaps. It glided on squeaky snow without leaving any prints until it was devoured by the pitch-black shadow of my house, which became even darker and thicker. My heart was jumping around like a bird inside a cage. I shut the curtains with a swift motion and stepped back towards the bed. They saw me. A freezing torrent of fear washed over me. I stood in the middle of a perfectly dark room, and I listened to some unwanted guest move and scrape around, looking for an entrance. The sound moved to the right, then circled around the house. Now my guest should be at the front door. I jumped into the bed and covered myself with the blanket as if it could protect me. The shackles of fear locked my muscles. I remember the funeral, my grandma lying there, hands crossed on her chest, her facial features sharp like that of a tin doll. Ants running up and down the legs of chairs that held my grandma's casket. I imagined those little creatures climbing up her head and pulling up her eyelids with their tiny legs. Then her wrinkly eyeballs would once again move inside their sockets and she'd be able to see her grandchildren. I was chanting the spell she taught me throughout the whole procedure. And now, lying under the blanket and listening to the squeaks and howls, I was repeating the same words. On the island of Buyan, underneath the blemished sun, in the sea of color blue, stands a cabin made of wood. There lay lard and ashen hair, for the spawn from devil's lair, to feast and always leave alone, God's faithful servant, named Anton. Evil leave this house must, ashes to ashes, dust to dust. Bizarre sounds had disappeared. I cautiously peeked out from under the blanket and saw curtains waving around like a hangman. And then the night doused me with a new portion of boiling terror. The sound scratched at my eardrums. In reality, something or someone were watching me at the front door, hurriedly clawing at wood, demanding to be let in. The door was shut. Dad had become very cautious recently, so he installed a sturdy lock. I remember him staring at the forest intently, as if he was looking for someone. Ashes to ashes, dust to dust. I hugged my knees, placing my chin between them, and drilled the door with my eyes. It was so flimsy and weak before the might of darkness. And then the doorknob twitched, slightly. Then it turned halfway, once, twice, 3 times the lady, as if the person who tried to enter had no hands. The doorknob tilted once more and then started clicking violently. My jaw cramped from fear. My wet fingers clutched the blanket. The door creaked and opened. The wind taunted me, moaning inside the tin drains. Now, you'll see. The door was wide open. The darkness writhed inside the carnivorous mouth of a doorway. Tony! It was as if the night itself was calling out to me, flapping its black wings and squeaking with rusty hinges. I was trembling, ensnared by the web of darkness that hung in the corners of my room, waiting for the one who weaved it to come out of the gaping black hole. Tony! My abdomen tightened, my chest rose up, ready to exhale a desperate scream. But before I was able to do anything, the darkness asked me, Tony, you asleep? My sister's pale face protruded from the thick shadows. I almost screamed from relief. Olya? I'm not sleeping. Did something happen? Olia frowned and stuck out her lower lip, a clear sign that she was about to cry.
It's here again, staring at me. Shoo her away, Tony, please. I'm so scared.
The fear that was tormenting me just a minute ago crawled away and hid somewhere in my stomach. I needed to calm Olia down. It was just a dream, silly. Don't be scared. Dreams don't bite. No one's going to harm you. Olia sobbed. She was trying her best to believe me. But was I sure myself? I have an idea. Let's go to your room and watch the video. Sleeping Beauty, for example. You like that cartoon, don't you?
Why does the Sleeping Beauty have a prince? And I have his scary bird?
That question took me by surprise. Alright, let's watch Cinderella. My thoughts became tangled, fuzzy. What was that? What studied me with its eyes while dancing furiously under the moon? The darkness was clinging to the window, and it couldn't be fooled by Grandma's old chants. It couldn't be satisfied with a feast of lard and long ashen hair.
Tony, you coming?
Yes, just a moment. Oh, it was a dream. Classic. That's why I didn't want to laugh at Olia and her owl in the morning. Who could be visiting us here in the middle of nowhere? We don't know anyone around here. So persistent. I felt extremely unsettled just from a silly thought that our morning guest could have come from the woods. I could barely hear voices coming from the front door. My mind was urging me to hide. In the closet, under the table, behind the curtains where Olia always hides. Tony, come here. I felt like kettlebells were tied to my feet, but still dragged them towards the hallway. A couple of policemen towered over me in the doorway. They smelled like frost and worry. My mom always winced and grumbled the moment she saw patrol cars. Worse than bandits. At the moment, though, she looked somewhat confused. Hello? The senior officer who wore a grim expression nodded. A boy had gone missing yesterday. His name is Vova. Please look at this. Have you seen him? The policeman held out a photograph to me.
Oh, with a kitty.
There was a ginger boy around the age of elementary school, pictured with a wall carpet as the backdrop. He had a striped cat in his hands and wore a wide smile. No, I haven't. Are you sure? Look closely. Where would I see him? I don't know anyone around here. I barely leave the house. Well, maybe you've seen him from the window. That's right. Your windows look straight at the forest, don't they? The window. No, I haven't seen anything. I see. He sounded tired, but his eyes, his stare, long and heavy, was full of suspicion. I squirmed unwittingly under the weight of guilt, which his giant shadow cast over me. The policeman finally tore his eyes from me and glanced over the hallway, the stairway, and the cracks in the ceiling, which I haven't noticed before for some reason. How do you like your new place, by the way? Getting used to it? Bit by bit. It's just our little daughter misses the city a lot. Miss the city, huh? Have the locals been treating you well? Yes, everything's alright, thank you. The policeman pierced through me one more time with his grey eyes. My head started spinning. Can I help you somehow? I asked that in a shaky voice to look like a polite boy to end this unpleasant conversation sooner. Now that I think about it, you look just like one of my nephews, little fella. He's a witty boy around your age, wears the same type of goggles. Always engrossed in reading those mystery novels. Told me he wants to enroll in police school when his family visited this summer. Wanted to help other people, just like me, you see. I felt uncomfortable, as if a distant relative and not a police officer stood before me. You know what? Little boys like you should stay at home, steer away from trouble. The times have changed so much. Mom interjected in a cold voice. You don't say. Well then. What grade are you in, Tony boy? 6th. Have you made any friends so far? Not yet. I'll be going to school for the first time after break. Then I'll leave you my number, just in case. Call me if you have any new info. The policemen were gone, along with their shadows, the smell of cheap cologne, and the photo of a smiling boy. His face still stood there before my eyes. I wondered what it was like for him being all alone. There. For some reason, I thought of the forest swaying in the wind. What did his poor parents feel? And what would my parents do if I'd gone missing? Would they cry and thrash around hysterically? Or would they accuse each other like they always do and forget about me eventually? Mom, this Volva, did he go missing in our forest?
Seems like it. Poor child.
Looked out of the window at the road. The police UAZ drove off towards the village. The officer's nephew came to mind when I was splitting off old paint from the windowsill. I remembered all the teenage mystery novels from the Black Kitty series I've read this summer. Your average boys and girls investigating all sorts of mysteries there. They looked for clues, spied on suspicious people, and after a set of amazing adventures, bam! Solved any complicated case. They became local celebrities and must have made their parents very proud. I noticed a trail of policemen's footprints that led to the forest, and then it clicked in my head. Why don't I start an investigation of my own? Maybe I'll find that lost boy, and I'll get a reward. Olia will be so happy. And not only Olia, Mom and Dad too. Maybe they'll even forget about their quarrels for a while. Maybe I'll even save us from the D word. The D word. I fantasized about buying Olia a Tamagotchi and getting a cassette player and a bunch of tapes for myself. And a whole box of Kinder Surprise. When was the last time our parents bought us any toys? Last autumn, I think. My dad had lost his job at the time. There's that annoying song about it. I had little to no idea what was the accountant's job like. They count money, I think. Neighbors used to envy us. But nowadays, Mom and Dad barely have money to afford sweets, and Dad would always divide a single chocolate bar between me and Olia. Sometimes I gave her my share too. No matter how much I wanted to eat sweets, she was still just a pipsqueak. I couldn't wait to go out, looking for clues. I'm going outside! Yeah, right. You want the police to go around with your photograph next? The forest is so thick. Just like you. What if the boy got snatched up by wild animals? Or something even worse? Even worse echoed through the hallway. I won't go far away. I'll stay away from the forest. Did you hear what I said? Or should I repeat myself? Better go pack your school bag or play with Olia. The sound of splashing water came from the kitchen. It meant that the argument was over and my mum had the last word. Oh, wow. That was a long-ass intro to gameplay. Okay, so I think I'm going to leave the episode there. That was a very long intro to the game. But I will continue this and maybe do a slightly longer episode next. It is very interesting, but I wasn't expecting so much dialogue in the beginning. But I am intrigued to see where it's going to take us. The thing that creeped me out was the creature actually running towards us when they noticed us watching them. That kind of creeped me out. So I'm looking forward to what we are going to uncover. I'm guessing we will eventually go outside and do our investigation to see what happened to this missing boy. But I find it really intriguing. Again, I love the art style. It's fantastic. It's very simplistic when you look at it from an artistic point of view. Like if you know how to draw, the strokes are very broad and simple, but they're so effective. And it's a style that I've always wanted to do, but I'm just no good at. I have to go into details, and I would love to draw and paint like this. Anyway, let me know what you think, and I'm looking forward to seeing where the rest of the story is gonna go. Thank you so much for joining me as always, and I will see you when I see you.